Okay, first thing on the agenda, we can just lots of paper all this. You have the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay. Was this unofficial last week when we discussed the um house across the street from the comedy club?
Oh, I don't know what you're doing. I was not.
That was after the.
Yeah.
Is that afterwards, Greg? Okay.
Motion to accept the minutes of August 20.
Second that.
Made and seconded, all in favor of approving the minutes from August 20?
Aye.
Good. I do not have a copy of Janet's report of September 9. I assume she will bring that when she's back.
This straight here, it's right here.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it in my copy. If we do have it. So I don't know if Janet had any other comments other than what's here. I think we have to accept that. That's just information, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Full business. All our commercial properties. Out the door in the laundromat, my understanding is they still have to submit their. An update. Oh, good.
The old door and transom window that was taken out was not destroyed or anything. And they've taken a look at it and they think they can rehabilitate it. I think he said put new glass in, caulk it, sand it down and paint it. So that's kind of the plan right now, because getting a metal replica door was pretty cost prohibitive.
I bet.
And the installation of that was costly too. So, my lawyer and the guys can finish the old door and they'll reinstall that back in.
Wasn't that a double door
Yes.
originally? Yeah, they think they can install that. Okay.
Good. So that'll still be maybe next month,
Yeah, and really,
unless they come to you and they say, we got it.
yeah, if they got it and they installed it and it looks the way it did, that's kind of repair maintenance, or you could look at it as, restoring it back to what it was, and they have the proof of what it is, so I could kind of approve it and just put it back.
Good, that'd be
Good.
great. Thank you, Jim. Okay. No other old business, new business, Whiskey Coop, number 25-35. Applicant requests site plan special permit review for installation of a tent to cover the patio, allowing additional seating capacity for the winter season. Project is in the village core, the historic overlay and national register districts. It requires a review under the zoning law of the village of Sackets Harbor. Public hearing is scheduled for this evening. So we all have packet, the seeker is attached to the back of the packet. I think they're getting pretty good at this. See, I did not find any issues with seeker as I went through it. They know about Seaway Trail, know about the historic. Part of this. So, I don't feel that there is any, major issues or need. It's a minor change. I think, we could probably, I would like to, move to accept seeker.
Second.
Thank you, Merle. So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Seeker's approved. So, let's see. All right, and we have also attached to the application drawings of where the structure would be, the size of it, location on the property, and information about the floor heating. Here's how the also the sidewall of the tent. And showing the flame retardant fabric. Information from the side of the heaters. And they're both at least 1.5 feet from the tent walls. The standing heaters are all centrally placed not near the tent walls. That's attached with the application. I believe we have a complete application. Anybody care to do that?
I'd make a motion that we have a complete application.
Second.
Thank you, Merle. Thank you, Mike. All in favor, say aye.
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 And complete application. Right here from. Yeah, I'd like to tell us who you are and what you'd like to say.
Scott Goodrich here, as one of the owners of the Whiskey Coop. This is, should be the same application as last year. We have no intended changes. The use case is the same as last year and previous years. The application was the same as last year, and as it was, there was no need to, we didn't see any need to make any changes, so it stands as is.
Thank you, Scott. Now let's be board. And we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody on Zoom, Caroline? Hearing no comments, we'll close the public hearing. And comments from we have some emails that should be read into the record.
May I ask if that's part of public hearing or, right, like in lieu of that voice, it's emails from,
That's a good question. I really didn't know where they would fall in. They do, I think they do need to be read into the record.
right?
Do you think I should reopen the public hearing? Okay, then we'll reopen the public hearing. And okay. First one I have is from Avid Lumbago 9P at iCloud.com. There's no first or last name on this. I am writing to formally oppose the application submitted for 25-35 Whiskey Coop, 214.5 West Main Street, requesting a special permit site plan review. Install a tent over the patio for additional winter seating. Key concerns: 1, historic district impact. The proposed tent would significantly alter the character of the village core, historic overlay, and national register districts. Temporary structures of this scale are inconsistent with the preservation goals and visual integrity required under the village zoning law. 2, zoning and precedent. Allowing seasonal expansion through non-permanent enclosures creates a precedent for other businesses to seek similar exceptions, eroding zoning standards. The zoning framework exists to balance economic activity with historic preservation. Approving this request undermines that balance. Point 3, public safety and infrastructure. Closing the patio may create fire safety and egress issues, particularly in winter conditions. Also, snow accumulation, structural load of the tent, and emergency access should be considered risks. 4, noise, parking, and neighborhood impact. Additional seating increases capacity without corresponding increases in parking, adding strain to an already limited downtown infrastructure. Extending capacity in the winter season will also heighten noise impacts on neighboring residents during months when windows are closed and sound carries differently. Request. I respectfully urge the board to deny this application on the grounds that it conflicts with the village's zoning standards, historic preservation mandate, and infrastructure capacity. Approving this application risks setting a precedent that weakens the integrity of the planning framework in Sackets Harbor. Thank you for your consideration. There's no signature. It was sent from an email, avidlumbago9p@icloud.com. I have from Suzanne Baker, and I should note that was dated September 12, 2025 at 3:09 p.m. I have from Suzanne Baker on September 16th, 2025 at 10:13 p.m. Just because somebody comes from a family with money does not mean they get to dodge the rules the rest of us have to live by. This tent is trashy. It don't belong in the historic district, and it's a slap in the face to every resident and business that follows the code. If you prove it, you're saying money matters more than the laws of this village. That is wrong. The rules are for everybody, not just the ones who can push their weight around. Nobody wants to see that tent when they come to Sackets. COVID is over and has been for a long time. Deny this application once for all. Example. We also wrote on the same day on September 16th, 2025 at 5:41 a.m. This whole tent idea is just wrong. It's trashy, not historic. Totally ruins the village. Whoever thought this up should be ashamed. We live here long enough to know better. Do not approve it. Suzanne. I also have from Jim, 1812jimmy@gmail.com. September 15th, 2025 at 10:37 a.m. As someone who has lived in this community for years, I am compelled to speak out strongly against the proposal to erect a tent structure over the Wood District patio. If not progress, it is a regression and an eyesore that has no place in the historic district. The entire purpose of the village core and historic overlay protections is to prevent precisely this sort of intrusion. A vinyl tent in the heart of our historic Main Street is not only inappropriate, it is an abomination to the character of Sackets Harbor. The optics are terrible. Instead of signaling pride in our history, it signals a willingness to cut corners with cheap, temporary fixes that degrade the village's reputation. To be blunt, whoever designed or endorsed this plan should be embarrassed. Shows no respect for the decades of work and investment that residents, preservationists, and business owners have made to keep this community authentic. Tacky installations like this cheapen the image of our entire town, drive away visitors who come here for history and charm, and insult those of us who have dedicated our lives to maintaining standards. If the board approves this message, the message will be clear. Rules can be bent, aesthetics don't matter, and the long-term vision of Sackets Harbor can be sacrificed for short-term convenience. That would be a devastating precedent. I urge you to protect the integrity of the village, deny this application, and make it clear that Sackets Harbor will not trade its identity for a plastic tent. Sincerely, Jim. Also from Jim, 1812jimmy@gmail.com. September 17th, 2025 at 9:09 a.m. Dear Chair Stevens and members of the board, as a follow-up to my earlier note, I want to be clear about why this proposal cannot be reconciled with existing law. The dining tent is not just a tent under New York State Code and our own local bylaws. It is treated as a structure subject to the same standards as a permanent building. Key concerns: building and fire code. Temporary enclosures used for dining must comply with snow load requirements, flame resistance standards, New York Fire Code, paragraph 3104, and provide unobstructed emergency egress routes. This design does not appear capable of meeting those obligations. Historic Overlay District. The village zoning and preservation bylaws are clear. Alterations and additions must protect the integrity of the historic core. The vinyl tent on Main Street is in direct conflict with that purpose. Health and liquor licensing. Expanded seating requires corresponding approvals from the Department of Health and the SLA. I believe that's State Liquor Authority.
It is.
Allowing the enclosure without those reviews would create compliance issues for both the business and the village. ADA accessibility. Enclosed public spaces must ensure full accessibility. Temporary flooring and tent structures typically fail to meet ADA standards for slope, stability, and emergency exits. In short, COVID justified temporary accommodations. That time has passed. Continuing this practice now not only violates the spirit of the bylaws, but exposes the village to liability if an incident were to occur. Approving this application sets a precedent the board may later regret, both legally and in terms of public trust. I strongly urge the board to reject this application outright. Respectfully, Jim. I also have this one, John S. Email is johnsales1968@yahoo.com. Wednesday, September 17th, 2025 at 12:38 p.m. I'll read the
Starts at the bottom of the page.
yeah, it starts at the bottom, but that was actually. Oh, what's this Tuesday? Okay, September 16th, 2025 at 3:42 p.m. I'm writing to share my thoughts on the request of Whiskey Coop to put up a tent over their patio. While I get that businesses need to make money, I got to oppose this plan. The tent was okay back when COVID was going on. Back then, it made sense as a temporary fix. COVID is over now, and keeping this thing up just don't line up with what the historic district is supposed to look like. It's not just the looks, although honestly, a big vinyl tent is tacky in the middle of Main Street. The bigger issue is if you approve this one, every other business will want to do the same, and then the zoning rules don't mean nothing. I hope the board will look at the bigger picture here. The right call is to deny the application so Sackets Harbor don't lose the character that makes it special. Thanks for your time, John. And he wrote on the 17th, 12:38 p.m. To Janet, thank you for confirming my comments will be included in the record. I want to emphasize once more that allowing a plastic tent in the historic district is a mistake. It undermines the zoning framework, cheapens the appearance of the village, and sets a precedent the board may struggle to walk back from. COVID is over. The justification for this kind of temporary structure is gone. If this tent is approved now, it won't be temporary. It will be a permanent eyesore, and residents like myself who have invested years here will see it as a sign that standards no longer matter. Please ensure the board weighs the long-term damage against short-term convenience of one business. Denying this application is the only way to protect the integrity of Sackets Harbor. Sincerely, John. That is all of the emails that we received. Any more comments from the?
None of these people are on. So, you know,
Nobody on? Any other comments from the public?
I would love to comment if it's allowed.
Still open, right? Oh,
Public
Yeah.
hearing is still open.
I do respect the three people that feel that this tent is vile, specifically all three of them referring to it as vile. Uniquely, that three separate people call it vile. Interesting. I do want to point out that I don't believe that this is a COVID decision. we're in a seasonal town with harsh weather. And we're not expanding our seating. This is our seating. Our patio is our seating. So we're not expanding our seating at all. We are just looking to use our seating to the maximum amount capacity that we can. So not an expansion, existing seating. I've been filling that patio for the entire summer. And I try my best to fill the patio when there's a tent over it. It is not a COVID thing at all. It has to do with optimizing our the space we have, accommodating as many people as we can. When people come to Sackets, we'd like to have as many restaurants open for them to dine at as possible. This gives us the opportunity to try our best, to extend our season for as long as possible. The decision around a historic code has nothing to do with whether a business makes money or not. I'm just saying that this is our best shake at trying to stay alive during harsh winters using existing seating. I do want to point out that also as a long-term resident, as a multi-generational resident, I don't know that bears any weight on any opinion. I think that if someone's been here a year and they love our history, someone's been here and can go back to great ancestors. If we're here to enjoy the history we are, and our history is enjoyed in so many ways, when the snow is falling, I don't like to think that people are stupid, that if someone comes to our village and they can have a cozy drink somewhere, they can have a pizza in Goodfellows, they can drive around and see the battlefield from a distance or trudge through the snow. It's all there. We're just doing our best in the times that we have. I would also like to point out that as someone who does not come from money, who does invest in businesses here, I would like to think that there is no throwing money around. I hope that's considered. If any of those public comments bear weight, I hope it's also worth saying that I don't come from money. So some of those are adjective filled and that carries a lot of weight. And that's really tough to hear because wintertime is an absolute loss for our restaurant. We lose money. We stay open because it matters to keep businesses open in the village, because the more people visit during the winter, the more they want to come back and tell people about it in the spring, in the summer, and the fall. And the longer we can stay open, to me, the overall heritage of our village that needs to be celebrated and it absolutely matters. We thrive in a seasonal town, and we starve when it's not in season. And it really is about if we could have something that looked beautiful and historic, that would be great. It's not a possibility for a restaurant that you can barely fit inside and all the seating is outside. So I hope all of those comments, especially ones calling it vile, 3 different people called it vile. So I hope that can be considered, because this is not a COVID solution. And ADA compliance, we actually are. We do not need to be compliant to seat people within the tent. We are compliant because they can sit inside. We're not exclusive to our seating. It's not exclusive to outside. It is seating in multiple areas. It's as simple as that. So it's not even outside of ADA. Snow load doesn't seem to be an issue because it's been the same tent the entire time. And snow doesn't accumulate there because it's a heated tent. Snow load has not been an issue. We have a fire plan associated with it that has been reviewed here and has been reviewed actually 2 years in a row. This would be the 3rd year on a fire plan. So from all those comments, I hope that our continued improvements of our application, and at this point, we haven't even changed it. we've, actually, last year it wasn't even changed. This is actually the 2 years in a row of an unchanged application, so hopefully all that's considered.
Thank you, Scott. Any other comments from the public? Can I close the public hearing? Comments from the board or discuss, yes, Scott?
Oh, time frame. What
Is-
time frame?
I apologize, is that not on the application?
Probably is, and I just missed it.
If it is not on the application, then we can absolutely set dates right now. At this point, I believe previously we've said by the end of April is the deadline for it. And if we want a start date, if there isn't one on there, I'm happy to discuss one also. I know at this point we aren't even looking until into October at the very earliest, and even then, that would be, yeah, but that's negotiable too, if it isn't already there.
I don't see any dates on there, but last year it was permitted through April 30 of 2025.
It was a through date because at the time of the application, it was already up. if I remember right.
Last year was not already up. Maybe 2 years ago it was. Was last year already up?
Last year it was.
Okay.
That's shocking to me.
Okay.
I remember that.
I think part of the problem is, like you've already stated, you guys have no intention to change. And we've been approving this year by year with the idea that we don't want this to be the same thing every year. And like the hope was that the village board would tackle the zoning laws, which they haven't. So we find ourselves in a frustrated same position. We also hope that you guys explore something more permanent.
I don't know that I've heard that there's that there's a hope or an expectation of finding a permanent solution, like putting a permanent structure there. That is, in terms of year to year, I haven't heard that it's been find a permanent solution for the tent. We'll allow it this year, but look for something better. The vestibule, I know there was a lot of discussion around that, but on the tent last year, I hadn't heard any contingencies coming into this year.
It's in our,
Last year, we did mention that specifically.
yeah.
Around the tent?
Specifically the tent.
Yeah, it says, especially this line, it says any future tent usage must be reviewed for consistency with the historic overlay district design guidelines, special permit criteria, and all other provisions of zoning law.
Right. But yeah, I guess I don't know what the difference, like what specifically that directs us towards. Outside of like, if it seems like year after year, we keep expecting next year, there'll be talk of permanent codes related to this. And then we're still on temporary codes. So so I don't know what to react to except for what we've done and discussed in previous years, because if there's no new codes in place and all we're basing it on is, here's what we're working off of a temporary structure, no codes related to it. What do we build towards? I don't know what that is, because there is nothing down that specifies what it should be. So I don't know what I continue to try to change or what do I adjust, because there is nothing to move directionally towards.
So we mentioned specifically last year, I remember, because I specifically mentioned it, you got frustrated with me a little bit because my recommendation at the time, not that it is, was, and I was just kind of thinking out loud, was some in my mind, it's like, if I was the owner, what would I try to do if I was getting pushback on the tent? Would be, at the time, it was some kind of pergola with, something. And I remember you got frustrated at me for that, saying that, because I had some conflicting ideas within that, because it was raw thought, it wasn't thought out through.
But we're not talking design, we're not designing something here. We have something existing. This is what we've been working towards. It's a temporary structure. If the expectation is that for this temporary structure won't exist if we don't find something permanent, that doesn't seem to be fitting towards the application where we're at. If the application doesn't go forward because I have to build something in the future, then that has nothing to do with this application.
Well, the comment last year, and I think if I remember right, Chairman, when commented on it too, I wish there was more thorough notes, and that's kind of a learning point for me to review
Wasn't
going
here.
forward, but was that this would be easier to approve if we had a plan of something more permanent. That, hey, the applicant's working towards X, but in the meantime, we've got, you know, and we could help quell some of these emails with, you know, the applicant, yeah, we did approve it. Because but there's a delay in the board, or there's a delay in this, but the applicant, it's got a permanent plan going forward. That's how I see it.
Why would I submit a permanent plan for a temporary structure?
No, we don't. That's not the idea. A permanent plan for a permanent solution to extend your seasonal seating.
For codes that don't exist. But I don't know what to build in permanency or in longevity for something that doesn't, there's no codes to build towards. So all I can build towards is, and as it was very clearly explained last year, you all have to use your best judgment on what fits. I can't build towards the knowledge that you all have, that you all grow and change as any state or federal guidelines. The historical codes might grow and ebb and flow. I don't have that knowledge. I can't build a plan towards something when there is nothing written down towards what it needs to be. This is.
In the zoning law for the historic district, because this would be considered new construction. New structures shall be permitted if they're consistent in architectural style and detail with surrounding structures and contribute to the historic district of the HB overlay district as determined by the planning board. So that would be, the way I see it, you'd be developing a plan with a structure that, and we had an idea what it's going to look like. It becomes a permanent structure, and that while that's being done, you know, the approval on that type of thing, we could possibly do, well, here's a temporary that can be there while you're getting this put together that's been approved. So there is nothing in here that gives us some way to look at that tent, we want to call it that, as consistent in architectural style and detail with surrounding structures. So it doesn't fit. You need to have some way of designing something or have somebody design something that you think would fit in that space, because that's the only space you've got to work with. But looks somewhat contiguous with the structures around it. And historic in nature, you know, there'd be colors and windows and things like that would go in it. And then if you gave us something, this is the way I look at it, you gave us something that says, here's my plan, this is what I'm working toward to get this built. I need this winter to help keep the funds coming in so I can get that built so that next winter I've got this in place. That's the way I look at it.
I mean, it is a seasonal temporary structure that extends the life of a business. It is, I would love it. I would love it if we had a village that could support something like that. But we don't have that right now. So it doesn't support that. That is not what we have in front of us. So it's a seasonal temporary structure that helps.
You're saying in terms of business or what?
People visiting, people stopping by businesses. It's not, I mean, it's
Customer base is what you're saying.
it's visitor based.
Yeah.
I mean, we're right. We're all well aware that this is a seasonal village. And again, I would like to think that people are not foolish enough to walk through and say let's say Fort Virginia, look at the work that's going on over there. This is stunning. I love the copper work up there. And then I walk over to restaurants and say, oh, look, they clearly have a temporary tent because it's it's in the snow belt and they could use their large patio that they wouldn't be able to use existing seating. I can't sit people in my existing seating without heat and shelter. So I don't have enough people coming to visit to enclose that in anything structural. I mean, we could, you know, and we don't want to because it impacts a business right behind us that is also seasonal in nature. I mean, it's a detriment to another business if we were to put a permanent structure directly in front of the boathouse. That would be detrimental to a second business. So we're stuck in a catch-22 of a temporary seasonal structure that you're
There's
right.
other things that exist besides a tent. Like, I mean, like, it's not a tent or bust. Like, I mean, there's other things out there. Like,
Mhm.
like I get your point and I get like the winter. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal in the winter. It just isn't. Like, there's not many people down here. I understand that and that makes sense. And that's the balance of business. But I also concede some of these points that it's not like a great look in a very small historic core district. So I get both sides of it. And then, so
What I have trouble with is, well, two things. Last year, one of the things we discussed was the cost. It was cost prohibited. Now, to put any kind of permanent structure there, I don't care whether it's a pergola or whatever, it's gonna be a
I want to
$50,000
stress that
at least
we
$50,000.
talked about the vestibule extensively last year. We spent very little time talking about the tent.
Right,
The tent this is the same application as last year. We had no notes from last year. And it was acknowledged that it was an extension of seating. It's the same seating. And all you're doing is providing shelter and heat to use existing seating. It was a very short conversation on the tent. Long conversation on the vestibule. I just don't want to get those two mixed up from what was shared and what expectations were. Expectations about changing the vestibule, I understand. That was not lost on me, but we did not have those conversations about the tent.
so that's reality. I mean, he's not gonna get a return on investment if he spends $50,000 on some kind of permanent structure that I agree with him, hides the business behind it. And that's why last year, we discussed some of these things
but
last.
there might, we're not even discussing any other options. Like
No,
you're throwing a number out, but like there's other types of tents as well. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. There could be other alternatives.
So this is from last year. This is October 16th of 2024. That was the meeting that we had. And one of the bullet points I just read here, just as a reminder, I want to read two bullet points. That last year was the fourth consecutive year, this being the fifth, that the applicant has requested approval to install a patio tent on a temporary basis. Planning board / historic review board acknowledges the applicant has made efforts to comply with as many of the board's concerns regarding public safety as well as aesthetics. Last year, there were some safety concerns that brought up, then you quelled them. Planning board, historic review board has determined that annual approvals are not an acceptable solution for temporary uses and structures that are inconsistent with the following Sackets Harbor zoning provisions: general regulations pertaining to the structures and uses, historical overlay guidelines, design review, and special permit review area. Therefore, and that's when in the findings came, therefore, the planning board grants approval with the following conditions, through April 30th and whatever, and you take fire concerns. But so there was discussion about, we just can't keep approving temporary. And that's.
And you have to forgive me because I thought that was related to the fact that there has been on the horizon actual zoning language that was going to be built towards this. And the discussion was also around the fact that if that's ever done, then we can submit something that says, here's our plan for the next 5 years, once those codes are set. But there are no codes, so I don't know what to build to. And like the vestibule, this is where we're stuck. And the tent is tenfold a larger cost problem for us. You don't make decisions on cost. That's a me problem. But building something that is intended to be temporary, that meets with historic code, but there are no codes towards temporary structures like this. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start. There's zero direction. This is what I have. If this isn't right, and you say, here's what you build towards, and the code is different, what do I do? If the code gets written and I've built towards suggestions from everyone sitting here, the code doesn't follow what can be discussed here, and I'm stuck holding the bag. What do I do?
So that's a little bit of what if,
It's
but
100% what if, but you just what ifed me on what if you do something permanent? We're in what if, man.
I agree to everything that you said in your opening comments immediately following the read of the emails, okay? My only challenge that I have is listening to how you can't do something, which is a little bit frustrating. I want to hear, I have a plan, this is my plan, tell me how you can. How can you?
I'm ready. Give me a code. Give me a code. I'm ready. Give me a code. What do I follow? What do I do?
Mr. Stevens just read the basic parameters. If you find something to build within that, but then you have to be creative. And, you know, last year you got frustrated with me because how I picture something with like a permanent 4 pillars on the corners, basically, but the sides would be temporary. You know, so you've got a permanent structure, the base that looks kind of nice in the aesthetic overlay and all that meets all the criteria, but you've got some kind of tasteful temporary siding on it that you can maybe roll up in the summer. I don't know that that's the answer. I'm not trying to tell you how to do something.
I understand, and we can't sit here and design something without a code to build towards, because the code gets written and everything that we do can go away. The vestibule is
We would have already.
exactly where we've been living, where we were working towards something, but we hit a roadblock on our own checkbook, and that's a me problem, not a you problem. I can't keep changing that vestibule to get towards something that I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what the roof line needs to be. I don't understand what the siding is supposed to be. I don't understand any of the things I'm supposed to build towards because it doesn't exist. So how do I plan towards something when it can change tomorrow?
So can I ask a question? This might be for Jim. Okay.
Just want a couple of examples that we've done in the past years. One was the back of Goodfellows. They wanted to be able to use that back patio year round. They came up with a solution. That's that roll up.
Forgive me, but are we saying roll-up garage doors are historic?
Saying they came up with a solution.
So my question.
The other one was, we also had one with Tin Pan. Now, they got approval. They were going to enclose that outside bar, have seating out there, patio up above, all that stuff. Now, he hasn't even started it, so he's had to reapply for permits. But he had an idea and he put it together and he brought it to the board. He used his imagination. He came up with some thoughts and ideas. I'm not saying that roll-up garage doors are historic, but we tried to work something out so that he could still have some exterior.
It's a
heating.
compromise.
It's a compromise.
So if I bring a solution of a temporary structure, and then the codes get set next year and they don't comply, what do I do?
That was my question. If we approve it and it's built, you can't get penalized.
It's a temporary structure. It's not a permanent structure. It's
And that's the problem. If you keep applying for a temporary structure, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot eventually.
So
100%.
your plan is to always be able to, whatever you put up there, take it down in the summer.
The other option is obstruct a business directly in front of us. That's also completely seasonal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then he would have a chance. He or she owns.
Us, still us.
You guys?
Still us.
Well,
Yeah.
then, you know,
Greg, I think where you were going and gonna ask me is, I think the approach, you know, in the approval last year, it was saying that we can't keep approving temporary structures. So you need to look at it as, I want to build permanent structures. When you build a permanent structure, and maybe if you're doing kind of what Mike was saying, or even Craig was saying, it's like a pergola with sides that come up and down. If that's the permanent thing that's built, and that kind of utility is something that you can work with, you're gonna get the approval for it. You're putting in an application for a permanent structure. If you get the approval for it, it doesn't matter if the code changes regarding temporary structures. You've got a permanent structure. You've got,
why can't I continue applying for a temporary structure?
Because it falls outside of our approval. It falls outside, I think, right? I don't want to misspeak, but it falls outside of a temporary, it falls.
How many
outside of our-
times can I apply for a temporary structure?
Not how many times, it's
Why not?
the duration of it, I think.
Well, you're telling me I can't apply for a temporary structure. How many times can I apply for a temporary structure?
Could fall under the same type of thing with temporary signs. 3 times, that's
Three
it.
times. Okay, then we're done.
You're on number 5, yeah.
Then we're done, right? So no 10? No 10. Because I'm past that. If there's a rule of how many signs, there's a rule on how many times we're applying for this, then let's apply that rule. If there's a rule, then that's what it is. I'm not looking to go around the rules. I don't understand the rules. Okay? If I'm allowed to apply for a temporary structure every year. Last year was the same application. The year before was the same application. That's not true. It finished after making the additional fire plans 2 years ago. And then from all of those things from the year prior, it came to last year. Last year was the same thing. And it was, yes, same application, same information. We're happy with it. With the additional justification from you all that said, by the way, this is existing seating, that you actually can't put people out there without health and safety, without a structure and heat. And I'm hearing doing the same thing again. So if there's a limit to how many times I can apply and I'm past that, then we shouldn't be here. If there is no limit to how many times I can apply, then I'm here applying for the same thing that I did last year and the year before in the same exact situation. And if something has changed, I'd like to know what changed. And I will do I work my hardest to make those changes in time where I can try to capture additional customers in our off season. I would like to know what I need to follow. And if it is literally just make it match other structures, then I don't have a plan. And if that's what this current 10 doesn't fit, well, it fit last year and it fit the year before and it fit the year before that, I would like to understand why it no longer fits those rules.
I don't know about the amount of times for an application, but I thought the challenge with us approving it was that it was the duration of it, I thought. Is that not it?
Well, I think,
Because it is temporary, just like if somebody wanted to put a temporary tent in their backyard.
but I think you summed it up. When you pulled this information from last year, the planning board, historic review board has determined that annual approvals are not an acceptable solution for temporary uses and structures.
They're not an acceptable solution for you or for me, because I hear that 2 ways. You're telling me that it's against me, but I think that it's not an acceptable solution for you all to revisit this issue year after year after year, where there should be codes towards it. What direction does that statement mean? Because I hear it 2 ways.
Your latter statement was on our minds when we talked about it.
You guys don't want to see me every year doing the same exact thing, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. We don't want a rubber stamp. If there's a code for it, we'll follow the code. But I don't understand what the rules are. And so right now, this is the best I have is a temporary structure. We've worked through a lot of details based on the fire safety, looking at the rate, right? Making sure we have distances from other structures. I've got, here's how like the dimensions of it all. If there's more that needs to be done, I don't know what it is. And if it has to keep changing, I don't know what I have to do to keep changing it. This is what I thought we're doing here for a temporary structure. If there's rules, then I don't understand them.
I think, from my perspective, the zoning law doesn't address temporary structures. Planning board was hoping that the village board would address it. Now, it could be addressed two ways. No temporary structures at all, or maybe we come up with some, potential solutions or use of special permits. I'm not saying the planning board's bending the rules, but the only way the planning board is able to look at accommodating something for you is with a special permit. But I think what we stated last year is this isn't a good solution. We need something that addresses the situation. But there's two ways that can be approached. One is the village board looks at it and comes up with a solution, or you come up with a permanent solution that they approve, then you can live with that. Right.
So my solution is a permanent structure and not a seasonal temporary one.
Right. Because you could build that now. You could build it to the rules that Dick read.
Yep. Okay.
That would get over this coming back every year, year in and year out.
Right.
And I think, Jim, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember comments from Janet that she's taken this issue to the village board each year, the last 2-3 years, saying, look, we have this issue in the planning board and we need to fix it, do something. And the zoning board rewrite are supposed to come up with some kind of a solution, but they haven't done it yet. So we're between a rock and a hard place.
Forgive me when I say this, I'm between a rock and a hard place.
You're on a different type of rock.
100%, no, 100%. Absolutely. 100%. I'm between a rock and a hard place. You have decisions to make. I have people to pay.
Yes.
Right.
What about, as Mike bringing up, what about looking at other alternatives that are temporary, not permanent? And when we say we want him to bring in a plan for a permanent structure, I don't understand that. Are we thinking that the village will never approve a temporary structure?
Janet's gone before the board and said it's an issue and.
Well, it's an issue. It's an issue. And we don't determine things necessarily on cost. But for God's sakes, we got to think about ROI. Whoever's tin pan over here, that was ridiculous. I mean, anybody who thought that was really going to be done.
I don't know.
But a tin pan, is that what you said?
Yeah. The addition he was going to make.
I don't think
Bring
it's
that
our-
up.
Yes.
I don't think it's our place to talk about ROI. If that was the case, then why'd we spend so much money on the docks? It doesn't
Well,
make
that's a good
sense.
question. You should have asked the person who
did.
applied for it. But I just don't think that's necessarily the answer, that you have to have someone construct a permanent structure.
But, I mean, really, if it wasn't for having the ability to do a special permit, and even then, like I said, it's probably stretching the limits on what special permits are supposed to achieve. But it's really the only tool that you have right now to accommodate him in any way.
Yeah. I understand.
But a permanent solution has always been in the zoning law. It's the section that Dick read. You can build new structures in the historic district. You just have to take into account the historic.
But I thought our thoughts last year was that perhaps the zoning law would address temporary structures.
So,
Oh, heavens.
No, It hasn't, so.
You know, another thing to take into consideration. I think you are, I mean, that's why you're having this discussion, but, you know, you've gotten, you know, 3 or 4 complaints here. One of the things they all kind of said, besides a few of them saying it was vile, is a plastic white tent. Maybe something that isn't plasticky looking would be more appropriate. If it was a canvas, if it was a, you know, brown or green tent or something like that. You know, quite honestly, I don't know what this board would think, but the hop spot up in Clayton, the enclosure you got around the bar there is pretty nice looking. It's not a plastic white tent. It's canvas and it's got sides that can, you know, button on or button off. That's what Eric Field, you know, put on her porch that you folks looked at.
And I don't believe that it's good business to make a change towards something that there is no zoning around. So I can say I'd like to buy this blue canvas tent that somehow blue is better than white in even though there's nothing written down in it in any code towards these temporary structures. I say blue and everyone says we like blue. And then the code is written and it doesn't allow for canvas. And now what?
Well,
I have nothing to build towards, I have nothing to plan towards.
your temporary.
Actually, I have something to plan towards. The Watertown whiskey, that's what I have to plan towards.
I mean.
That's an easy one.
Your solution right now is reusing a white plastic tent. Yeah, maybe you're gonna have to make an investment in a different color to get their approval, but if you're taking color into consideration, you can look at what's on the historic, you know, palette that you folks have approved. I mean, that would help have that approval. Is it, you know, could the village board come out and say, no permanent structures, and you bought a, you know, brown canvas thing? Yeah, that could happen. But the other potential alternative right now is these folks can just say, sorry, your time's up. We're not gonna do it anymore.
Yep.
You come back with a brown thing, they might say, yeah, you can get another year or 2 out of it.
I have to ask you a question because I haven't seen the one in Clayton that you're talking about where they can, is that the exterior bar area?
Yeah.
And they can enclose around the edges of that?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, and that's.
There's
permanent
a,
structure.
yeah, with clear plastic.
It's a permanent structure.
It's been a seasonal business. They're closed, by the way, or they're closing soon.
He's saying it's a permanent structure.
Yeah, right.
So you
And-
get
and-
approved as a permanent
Okay,
structure.
well, I don't know what they did in Clayton and I don't know what the codes are in Clayton. And I don't know how the codes in Clayton apply to here. Right? If we know what those are, then I would love to look at those, but we don't have those codes here.
That would be then a permanent structure. So you have flexible walls that can be moved, but it's a permanent structure. And as far as blocking off the boathouse, you take those all off, you see right through it.
I understand what you're getting at. No, what you're saying is he can avoid it being disapproved or terminated in the future if he does something
Right.
that's of a permanent nature.
But I'm not applying for permanent. I'm applying for a temporary seasonal structure. For the 5th time.
Any other thoughts from the board?
So though this is not a motion, just for discussion, I don't know what the opinion of the board is, but I would be inclined to approve this for this season very specifically with clear language that this would be the last temporary approval to put pressure in lieu in due to lack of guidance from the village, right? And say, because that way we can have a path forward. It puts pressure on the village to come up with a permanent plan. It helps the business stay open for this season with lack of guidance from the village, and then a place to work forward to for next year. That's what I'm inclined to, that's what I'm thinking of is, the last approval based on lack of, finalization of, temporary plan, whatever that wording would be from the village with a plan either, so next year it's either going to be, we're going to have clear code or we're going to have a permanent structure plan. I know we kind of tried to push that a little bit last year, expecting that we'd have the board. So I guess the
this
what
is
if is going to
definitive.
be,
I
the
think-
what if is going to be, well, what if the board doesn't do anything for another year?
I think last year we spent so much time on the vestibule.
Too much time on the vestibule. I would, I don't know where we are. You're not even trying to do a vestibule this year? Entryway?
I'm not now.
No, I mean, I don't know what the thought was, because, I've always been more supportive of that than the tent, because I think it makes more, well, not more sense, but I understand, it's easier to justify, I guess, for folks that complain, but,
Where did we end up on that?
we got so wrapped up in the arches of the roof and the.
I don't know how to change, I don't have to change the roof because there's no rules on what to follow.
Well,
I have no rules on what to follow. I can't put money into something I can't follow.
That's not really true. I mean, if you had an architect, Harold Craig sat here and said, I could.
He's not an owner. He's not an owner. I need to stress that.
And he turned around and said, I could design something that may be acceptable. And this board is the one that has to make the determination, but it's gonna be based upon what existing lines of the building are, what other buildings in the community are. So you can't say there's no guidance. The other thing that I would say is, you had commented and say, I don't know what the rules of play are. You're a citizen of this town. If you want to see some changes where you don't have to come back to this board every year and have it be tentative, why don't you find out what the rules in Clayton are? And then maybe that's something you can bring to the village board and say, here's something that works in another community. Take a look at it. Maybe it will work for us. It's not just this board's responsibility or the zoning rewrites responsibility, and to a certain extent, maybe it's not even the village board's responsibility. That's only one of their responsibilities. If you help them along, if maybe the board takes Craig's approach this year and someone comes forward and says, here's what other communities doing and it seems acceptable. If it's something that you guys could look at, then maybe it will,
Yeah.
it's another thing to push it through.
You're absolutely right, Jim. And after last year's approval and the year before's approval, after making all the iterations to get there, and last year, no iterations being asked, it was the same thing. My expectation of doing homework from another village to bring here was zero. And that one piece of language that said you can't, this isn't sustainable within this panel was not taken as I can't keep applying, even though that's the system that exists. It was that you recognize that this was an unsustainable path, but we're still on that path. And there's someone else who dictates that path. That isn't me, that isn't you. So I'm just doing what I've been doing, following these same rules that have been put in front of me for the past few years. That's where I'm at. If there's more to it, let me know what the other things are, because I don't know what it is. I don't know what to follow. There's no zoning towards this. It's on your discretion. So it's the same thing that it was before. It's on your discretion. You guys have the ones that have to decide whether this fits the best interest of the village, and balancing the health and wellness of it along with the historical capacity.
I think the board, Mike and Craig, everyone is trying to give you a way to avoid having to bring it up as a temporary structure every year. And I think you've.
And the solution is so much money. It's so much money.
Well, there's also grants that are, the New York Forward grant is coming out, and that would be, couldn't really think of a better project.
Yep.
Put it on.
I have a better project. That's a water tower.
Okay. Well, I would support Craig's.
I would like to turn that into a motion.
Okay, well,
You don't have to, I mean, I'm new here.
Motion the way you'd like. Because you know, you're on the board, right?
I'm gonna make a motion that the board approves the application for this year. Expecting it to be the last year for a temporary structure based on no solid guidance. I don't know what the right wording is for this part. No, no codes or guidance provided that were expected. I know that that's choppy.
For temporary structures.
Right. With one addition, I would also, because it's wrapped up and it supports the same business in the same way, and this being the expected final year of a temporary approval for this, include the vestibule in that. As it was, because it's the last year. I don't think he even put it up last year because there was issues. I think he just left it down, if I remember right.
We did,
It didn't, the vestibule didn't.
we didn't get,
I know that wasn't part of the application, but I'm trying to afford the business a chance to go forward. And also hopefully get some guidance from the village board so that we're not seeing the business owner every year for this.
There's a second on the motion.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion. Thank you, Craig, and a second from Merle. Discussion on the motion.
That was too verbose. I get it. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to try.
My concern is the word expected.
I tried to leave it loose because what we're gonna do, what I'm expecting is next year, the board hasn't done anything, the village board. And we're gonna be and then the business owner's like, what do I do?
Right, and then we're back to where we are today and last year and.
So I think maybe you're right about taking the word expected out and have this be the last one. Right?
Yes.
So next year will be, or before, will be a permanent plan forward.
Or maybe another way of saying it is, this is the last time you'll approve a temporary structure via a special permit because you want to see permanent or specific language regarding temporary structures,
Yes.
Yes, that's
something like that.
much better.
Or my.
All right, so let's get that. How's that wording gonna be?
So I made a
2020.
motion,
Go ahead.
I made a motion that we approve the application.
Special permit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We approve this special permit. We're all that again, a final time. I mean, this is what I'm trying to say is this is the final approval of a special permit. With the expectation that the village board comes up with a permanent solution to temporary structures, or the business owner provides a permanent structure plan or, application. And I also added in there the addition that's not included in your application for the approval of a special permit for wrapped up into this under the same guidance though of the vestibule.
We added,
So what you're saying in the motion, and maybe I misunderstood it at first, you're saying in the motion, you're saying it doesn't matter what the village does. Doesn't matter whether there's a zoning law passed or not. We're just saying if you don't come up with a permanent solution, then we're not gonna
No.
approve it.
no, that's not what he's saying.
Because he had in there, if the zoning law changes to be more applicable for what Scott wants, then he could reapply under that new zoning law.
He's saying we're not doing a special permit for
Another
this.
special permit for this.
Okay.
This is,
I stand corrected, then that makes sense.
Do you want to put a time frame again on this?
I was thinking April 30 again.
April 30th, the limit and the setting up would be at the discretion of the business owner because he doesn't obviously want to put it up when it's 80 degrees outside still,
He
but.
doesn't want to wait until the first snow is falling.
Right, so I would say a business owner's discretion for this year. I think that gives them the leniency.
But,
What do
but how would you, okay,
How would you what?
it takes the village forever to come up with the zoning laws anyway, but nothing is done. So you're gonna say that next year, we're gonna say, okay, we're not gonna approve this under a special permit. What are we gonna do?
I'm not gonna do anything. What I'm expecting to have is either an applicant, expecting to have an application next year. It's gonna be one of two things. It's gonna be a application for a permit to put a temporary structure under the new temporary law, or an application for a permanent structure, because here's the plan going forward.
Take back my second then. I don't think we can tell somebody that.
Oh, who that?
I don't think we can tell them that.
So I can't, because you're saying I can't make any more changes to my tenth idea if I want it to be temporary.
It's not, I don't think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I would, just to throw it out, I mean, just have some flexibility is, the approval that you're making this year is on a plastic white pen.
That's right.
It's the last time for that.
Yeah, specific to that.
Next year, hopefully will be addressed with new language in the zoning law regarding temporary structures. If that doesn't occur, that's got two options. Go for a special permit with some other type of thing, like maybe canvas tent or compatible color with buildings, surrounding buildings and things like that, so that it's a little bit more historically, compatible. Or a permanent structure of some sort. And maybe, in a sense, maybe a combination, similar to what is. Permanent pergola where you were going, and the canvas sides, of a nice color or something like that. And that could be his permanent solution, or it could be another step that he takes in a few more years until he comes up with a permanent solution, if that's.
Thank you, Jim. I'm trying to enable it, not
Right.
chop you off. I'm just trying to balance.
I guess what
Are
I'm
you comfortable with that? With what he just said?
I am.
Okay, then I'm comfortable with seconding this motion.
It's a lot to, a big piece.
We both were getting verbose.
Right.
But, the option is, there's a new law. There's a permanent structure from the applicant, or a new temporary special permit request from the applicant that's different than what has been approved the last 4 years.
Thank you.
You get that written down?
No,
You got anything written down? Carol?
Recorded it so that we can go back and.
Can you read back what you have, Caroline?
Well, it's like 3 different.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get what we agree on.
Just put it electronically tomorrow.
Can I get it to you tomorrow?
We need to act on it tonight.
Okay. So
Do
Craig.
the best you can.
Craig made the motion, well, say that this thing, to approve the special permit through this year, be the last year based on, no codes or guidance provided for temporary structures. And to include the vestibule. Merle seconded that. And then I added, last time to be approved, be a special permit until there is language regarding temporary structures, or the business owner provides a permanent plan, approved through April 30th. And then I added some things Jim said, last time for the plastic white tent. Next year, we would expect, the owner to ask for a special permit with a different type of tent or a more permanent structure.
I think you've gone on further than you need to.
Next year, I don't expect the business owner to apply for a special permit. Hopefully he won't have to. The expectation is he will be able to just apply for a regular permit because we have guidance. But the ability to apply for a special permit in lieu of guidance. In lieu of guidance.
I mean, he could apply for the same thing, but if you're saying it's the last time you're going to approve it, it's in his best interest to come up with something different.
And
Right.
the rationale being the intention of a special permit is not to approve the same thing year after year, correct? I
Have the
mean,
same discussion.
yeah,
Specifically, what we're really saying is.
we're just
that,
going around.
In absence of zoning law addressing this, that we can approve it, we could approve a special permit, but you want to change in color and type of material.
What you
I
guys.
think that's the fix.
Yeah, so we could keep doing this every year, right? But that defeats the purpose.
Well, I'm just saying that I think we need to get away from the permanent structure at this point in time.
I wouldn't rule it out. It's an option he's always got.
Yeah, you got-
Well, if he's got,
One of the issues we have with this, and I was looking at it last year and the year before, and it became people being rather colorfully descriptive in their emails, is that particular tent is, I'm going to use the word abhorrent to some people. If there was a different flexible structure, I'm going to say, okay, that could work with it. It's not just a change in material and color, because that's a minimal change. And yet, and then we would have a lot of the same discussion going on. That's a little bit more of a change than just saying, okay, if you change the color and the fabric, we'll approve it. The temporary structure. That's not getting at, I think, what some of the other people, a couple of them mentioned that all of a sudden we may have temporary structures all over the place downtown.
That's what I was gonna say, is I mean.
That's one of the
things
issues.
That was brought up in everyone's things on the site.
And that was brought up.
I'm not
couple of years too.
I'm not gonna second that motion. I'm not gonna second that motion if it has permanent structure in it.
What is that?
We're not forcing them.
I'm not making him have a permanent structure.
Saying it's an
Would you read,
It was an option.
read down to the point where
Well,
you
that
start
isn't what
adding,
Dick just
just
said.
a second. Down to the point where you started to add Jim's comments.
This would be the last time for the plastic white tent. Unless the owner came back I had special permit to apply for a different type of tent or a permanent structure.
It says or,
Or
not and.
Okay.
he could
Um,
come back.
I wouldn't say 10, I would say different type of temporary structure or permanent structure.
You don't wanna limit it to a 10.
Right.
Yeah,
You can come up with
absolutely,
something else.
Oh.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a good point.
So have your second still?
But you're probably gonna, once she has that written up, you're probably gonna have to take a look at that just to make sure that reflecting your exact motion.
Okay, any more discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? You're approved for this year, Scott. Gonna struggle, but I hope you understand where we're coming from, and I think we're giving you some options for next year to,
You have your job to do, I have my job to do, so. I appreciate your time.
hope you have a good season.
Thanks, Scott.
We hope so too.
There was, I lost my agenda in the mess that I have here.
Here it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the ongoing items, consideration discussion, we could wait until Stan's back.
Yeah.
Somebody's got something that they want to add in there. So I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Second. Oh,
Murray.
sorry. Second. Got it backwards.
We are adjourned.
That was, I think that was a pretty good discussion though.
Oh, yeah.
You gave them options, brought up some really good points.
It's tough. I mean, the zoning law is so, it's only specific on not a word. I went through
No,
it.
turn.